Sing, Muse, sing the wrath of Achilles that brought so much suffering on the Achaeans and tore many brave souls from their breasts, sending them to Hades, the darkest of caves, their limbs torn by birds and dogs. All this was according to the will of mighty Zeus. It all began with strife between Agamemnon, king of men, and the godlike Achilles, son of Thetis. Enraged at an insult to his priest Chryses, Apollo put aside his lyre, took up his bow, and aimed deadly arrows against Agamemnon and his men. He sent a plague against the army, and, one by one, the soldiers began to die. It was not long since Chryses, priest of glorious Apollo, had walked down to the ships to buy with priceless gifts his daughter's freedom, for she had been seized by Agamemnon as his prize. He held the golden scepter and crown of Apollo and spoke to all, but mostly to the leaders Agamemnon and his brother Menelaus. Stretched along the beach, where the funeral pyres would soon smoulder, the army gathered. Chryses began to speak. Great sons of Atreus, and all well-armoured Achaeans, may the gods grant you success in your siege of Troy, and give you safe passage home. Win the blessing of Zeus by honouring his son Apollo. Take this fitting ransom for my daughter. The men acclaimed the priest, reverencing him and his gifts, but Agamemnon was of a different mind. He violently abused the priest. Stupid old man, go and never again return, or your crown and scepter will not save you. Your daughter will be mine until she dies. In our court at Argos, far away from her beloved homeland, she will spin and weave, and prepare with all fit ornaments my bed. Silently the priest walked away, but when the Achaeans could no longer hear, he prayed to Apollo. Apollo, lord of the bow and the lyre, if ever I have pleased you, grant me this wish. Revenge my tears with your arrows. Apollo heard his prayer and flew down from Olympus, enraged at the insolence of the Achaeans. Plague-filled arrows flew from his bow, first at the mules, then the dogs, then the men he struck again and again. Soon, day and night, tall funeral pyres burned on the beach. For 9 days, Apollo's plague-filled arrows rained down on the Achaean army. On the 10th day, Hera, queen of the Olympian gods, who loved the Greeks, urged Achilles to call a meeting. The army and its leaders all gathered together on the beach. Achilles was the first to speak. Agamemnon, son of Atreus, look at how we are now ravaged by both plague and war. No wonder men are thinking of sailing for home. Let us consult a prophet or someone skilled in reading dreams to find out how we may have offended Apollo. Maybe some offering of unblemished sheep and goats will stem his anger. A great hecatomb may appease the god. The great prophet Calchas rose to speak. Calchas knew the past, the present and the future, a gift of Apollo. He knew how to read the flight of birds and the mysteries of dreams, the which are often sent by Olympian Zeus, king of the gods. Calchas had guided the Greek ships to Troy, and his words were revered by all. Calchas now spoke, first of all to Achilles. I will reveal the cause of Apollo's anger, but first I ask for your protection, for I am going to offend a man whose word is law among us. An ordinary man cannot have such a man for an enemy, for he will nurse a grievance and bide his time until he gets the chance for revenge. I need you to vouch for my safety. Achilles, swift of foot, replied, I swear by Apollo that no one here by the ships will harm you as long as I live, even if you offend Agamemnon, who boasts he is the mightiest of us. And so Calchas began to speak. Apollo is angry because Agamemnon insulted his priest and refused the ransom the priest offered for his daughter. This is why we now suffer and die. We must return the beautiful Chryses to her father without a ransom, and we must send a secret offering to the priest's hometown Chryse. Do this for Apollo, and he may spare us. When he had finished speaking, Calchas sat down. Everyone waited for Agamemnon's reply. Great Agamemnon leapt up, his face contorted with rage. He spoke thus to Calchas. So-called prophet, you have never been anything but trouble to me. You just love spewing out your poisonous prophecies. Not a single one of them has ever been any good. And now we hear that the anger of Apollo, all this plague and death, is all my fault. So I am to give up the dark-eyed Chryses, even though I prefer her to my wife at home. She is just as beautiful and clever, and has a more pleasing disposition. But I want my beloved army to live, so I will do as you ask. But give me another prize at once, for it is not right for me to have less than others. The godlike Achilles replied, Great Agamemnon, unequalled in many things, but especially in greed, where will a fresh prize come from? I see no great store of common property here on the beach. The plunder we took from the towns around has all been given out. Give the girl back now, and we will compensate you fourfold when we seize the walled city of Troy, rich in gold. Agamemnon, king of men, replied, Achilles, you are a great warrior, but you cannot outwit me. Do you want me to stand here and be robbed of my prize while your prize is safe? The army must choose a new girl for me, one to my liking, or I will take your girl or someone else's, and then what an angry man we will have. But now, put a black ship to sea, load the animals and put Chryses on board. Let Ajax or Odysseus be in charge, or you yourself, and let us offer sacrifice to win back the favour of Apollo. Achilles replied to Agamemnon, You are completely shameless. How do you expect men to follow you into battle? I have no quarrel with the Trojans. They have done me no harm. never stolen oxen or horses of mine, nor destroyed my crops. The far resounding seas and many great mountains lie between us. We joined you, you shameless dog-faced swine, to right the wrong suffered by your brother Menelaus, when Paris, the Trojan prince, stole away with Menelaus' wife Helen, the most beautiful of women. Now you threaten to rob me of my girl, given to me by the army. But my prize never seems to equal yours when we plunder some Trojan town, even though the burden of the fighting falls on me. You help yourself to the best prize, always with unbridled avarice, while I return to the ships exhausted. Now I will return home to fertile Phthia with all my ships. Why should I stay here to be insulted and to add to your great pile of riches? Agamemnon replied, Go then, run for home. No need to stay on my account. I won't get down on my knees to beg you to stay. There are men here who respect me, and I have the favour of Zeus, king of the Olympian gods. Of all the great leaders here, you are the one I detest the most. You just love strife, battles, and to feast on blood, more like a monster than a man. War is what you live for. But if you are a great warrior, it is only because the gods have made you so. So go on home with your myrmidons, and I say good riddance. I have had enough of your rough-hewn rages. Now here is my threat. Just as the god Apollo has robbed me of the beautiful Chryses, dearer to me than my wife at home, I will go to your hut and take away Briseis, your girl, to let you know that I am superior, and to teach others not to claim equality with me, for I will brook no equals. In this way Agamemnon spoke, and Achilles was filled with anger. Achilles was torn between drawing his sword, rushing through the gathered army and slaughtering Agamemnon, or instead checking his anger and continuing the war of words. Achilles gave in to his anger and drew his sword, ready to attack Agamemnon. But then the goddess Athena flew down from Mount Olympus, traversing the wide sky in an instant. Hera, queen of the gods, had sent Athena because she loved both men and wanted to see no harm to them. Athena seized Achilles by his yellow locks, but only Achilles could see the goddess. Achilles was amazed, seeing the beautiful light in Athena's eyes. He spoke to Athena. Why are you here, daughter of Zeus who drives the storm clouds? Is it to see Agamemnon's insults? Believe me, he will pay for his insults with his life. Grey-eyed Athena replied, I came here to cool your anger. Hera wants no harm to come to you or Agamemnon. Take your hand off your sword and fight back with bitter words alone. Tell Agamemnon what you mean to do, for the day will come when splendid gifts will be laid at your feet, all because of Agamemnon's insults. Do as I say, and stay your hand. Achilles, swift of foot, replied, However angry he may be, a man must bow to the will of Hera and yourself. The gods listen to the man who respects them. Achilles placed his hand on the silver hilt of his sword and obeyed Athena. Athena left for Olympus and the palace of Zeus, where she rejoined the other gods. Achilles attacked Agamemnon with bitter words. "You drunkard, with the face of a dog and the heart of a coward. You never have the courage to go into battle or join the men in an ambush. You would rather stay on the beach, stealing the prize of anyone who stands up to you. A leader who is no better than a parasite. I now make a solemn oath on the sacred staff I hold in my hands. Once cut, it can never grow leaves again. It was stripped by an axe of bronze. The men who in the name of Zeus uphold our traditions hold this staff when they speak on grave matters. On this staff I solemnly swear that the day will come when the Achaeans will burn with a thirst for the help of Achilles. You will be powerless as you fall before the sword of man-slaughtering Hector. Then you will be filled with remorse for giving no respect to the greatest warrior among us." Achilles, son of Peleus, flung down the staff, and Agamemnon gave him hate-filled looks. Now eloquent Nestor stood up, the cunning orator from Pylos, whose tongue poured forth a flood of more than honey-sweet words. Nestor had already seen 2 generations of men of different languages live and die, and now he ruled the 3rd. He had the interest of his people at heart as he spoke. "Our Greek earth will be justly drowned in tears at the sight of this quarrel. How happy King Priam would be, and all the Trojans, looking down from the walls of Troy, to see our 2 greatest heroes at each other's throats. Now listen to me, both of you, for I am older than you, and I have mixed with men even better than you, and those men heeded my words. Men like Pirithous and Dryas, shepherd of the people, and Caeneus, Exidius, and the godlike Polyphemus, and Theseus, son of Agus, a man fashioned after the immortals. These Lapiths were the strongest men ever, the strongest men who fought the strongest enemies, the mountain-dwelling centaurs, half man, half beast. The centaurs they fought and destroyed. These were the men I left my home in Pylos to join, for they invited me personally to join them, and I travelled far to meet them in the Asian kingdom. Not a man alive today could match those men in battle, and they listened to and heeded my advice. So, Achilles and Agamemnon, for your own good you do the same. Agamemnon, do not rob Achilles of his girl, given to him by the Greek army. Achilles, give up your quarrel with Agamemnon. Agamemnon holds the scepter of power. His authority comes from mighty Zeus, so he has the first claim on our respect. You are a better fighter, but Agamemnon rules more people. Agamemnon, put aside your anger towards Achilles, for we all need him in the heat of battle, when we fight with the great Hector, Prince of Troy, and his men." King Agamemnon replied, "Nestor, what you say is very true, but this upstart wants to lord it over everyone, and to give us all orders. Just and temperate law he wants to push aside in his hot-headed rages. I will not tolerate that. What if the gods made him a great warrior? Is he then entitled to hurl insults?" Achilles replied, "Go ahead, dog-face. Give the others all the commands you want, but don't tell me what to do. I have finished taking orders from you. Hear this. I am not going to fight you or anyone over the girl you are stealing from me. You men gathered here, gave her to me as a prize, and now you take her back. My swift black ship has many things beside it that are mine, and you will take none of that. Try it, and you will see your black blood on my spear. And so the war of words came to an end. Achilles and Agamemnon dismissed the army gathered near the black ships. Achilles, with his friend Patroclus, whom he loved above all others, together with the Myrmidons, went back to his camp. Agamemnon chose 20 men as rowers and launched a swift ship. This ship he loaded with the hecatomb, cattle for sacrifice to Apollo, and put fur-cheeked Chryses on board. Wily Odysseus was appointed as leader. They set off over the wine-dark sea on a journey to appease Apollo. Agamemnon ordered the army to offer Apollo sacrifices of bulls and goats, casting the offal into the depths of the sea. Fires burned along the shore of the unfruitful sea, and the smoke curled up into the sky. Agamemnon, while showing respect to heaven, did not forget his quarrel with Achilles, nor did he forget his threat. He called to his heralds Talthybius and Eurybantes and to his attendants. He spoke to them thus: "Go to the camp of Achilles, take the fair-cheeked Briseis and bring her to me. If Achilles tries to stop you, I will fetch her myself, and that will be very bad for him." He dismissed Talthybius and Eurybantes, and the two heralds unwillingly made their way along the beach to the camp of Achilles. Achilles was sitting beside his black ships and was not pleased to see the heralds. The heralds, on seeing Achilles, were too afraid to give the message from Agamemnon. Achilles understood what was happening and spoke. "Welcome, heralds, respected by mighty Zeus and by men. I have no quarrel with you. I know Agamemnon has sent you to take away my girl Briseis. Now, Patroclus, beloved of the Olympian gods, bring the girl out and hand her over. Heralds, be my witness before the Olympian gods, before men and before Agamemnon as well. Know this, that a terrible disaster will fall on the Greeks, but I will not be helping them when they fight for their lives by the ships." Patroclus did what Achilles asked and gave Briseis to the heralds. The girl could scarcely move for grief and sadness, and wept with anger at having to forsake her friends. Achilles went and sat alone on the shore of the resounding sea, and looked out at the boundless ocean. He raised his arms and pleaded to his mother, the goddess Thetis. "Mother, you bore me, knowing that my destiny was to live the briefest of lives. You are a goddess, but Olympian Zeus shows me no respect. Look at how Agamemnon treats me. He has taken my prize, the beautiful girl Briseis, and now she belongs to him." Thetis was in the depths of the sea with her aged father, but she heard the prayer of her son. She rose up from the depths of the grey sea like a mist, and sat beside her weeping son. She stroked Achilles and said, "My child, what grieves you? Why this sorrow and these tears? Share your sorrows with your mother." Achilles, sighing like a storm, told his mother everything that had happened, how the Achaeans had given him Briseis as his prize, and how she came to belong to Agamemnon. He appealed to his mother, "Give me your protection and plead my cause with Zeus. You used to tell us how you, alone among the gods, saved Zeus, who gathers the black storm clouds, from imprisonment when other Olympians plotted against him. Their evil plot was to put Zeus in chains. Hera, Poseidon and Pallas Athene were the plotters, but you released Zeus from his chains. You summoned to Olympus Briareus, the monster with 100 arms, a giant even stronger than his father. The plotters ran in terror when they saw this monster at the side of Zeus. Mother, take Zeus by the knees and remind him of the time you helped him. Persuade Zeus to let the Trojans beat the Achaeans back even onto their ships, then slaughter them on the beach. Then they will learn the true nature of their leader. Make wide-ruling Agamemnon, son of Atreus, realize the great mistake he made when he showed disrespect to the greatest warrior among the Greeks. Thetis wept at the story told by Achilles and replied, "My son, my childbearing bore a curse. Did I raise you for this? Destiny has allotted you only a short life. I do not want to see you having a miserable life as well as an early death. When I brought you into the world, it was indeed to an evil destiny. I will fly to snow-capped Olympus and make my supplications to Zeus. I will see if I can move him to grant your wish. You, take no part in the fighting, but stay here beside your ships. Have patience and feed your heart with wrath and hopes of vengeance." Zeus is now at a feast with the blameless Ethiopians, deep in the breast of the ocean. But in 12 days he will return to Olympus. When I see him then, I am sure he will do what I ask. With these words, Thetis departed back into the depths of the ocean. Achilles, alone on the beach, brooded on the way his well-girded woman had been taken from him. And as he brooded, his anger grew. Odysseus and his crew reached Chryse with their hecatomb, their sacred offerings for the god Apollo. In the deep-watered port they stowed away the sails and put down the anchor. Then they disembarked to the beach. They brought ashore the cattle for the sacrifice to Apollo. The beautiful Chryses they brought ashore too, and returned her to her father. Odysseus spoke to the priest of Apollo. "Agamemnon, king of men, has ordered me to return your daughter to you and to make a sacred offering of oxen to Apollo, in the hope that the god will end the plague that has brought so much suffering to the Greeks." The priest heard the words of Odysseus and joyfully welcomed his daughter, embracing her, and they both wept tears of joy. The sacred offering was prepared at the altar of Apollo. The men washed their hands and took up salt cakes, and the priest, with his hands held up to heaven, prayed, "Apollo, lord of the silver bow, protector of Chryse and the holy Scylla, ruler of Tenedos, you listened to my prayers before, when you punished the Greeks with your plague-sending arrows. Now, grant my wish and end the suffering of the Greeks. Revoke your anger and bring the plague to an end." Apollo heard his heartfelt prayer. The men made their prayers and threw grain over the victims. They drew back the heads of the oxen and slit their throats, then skinned them. For Apollo's portion they wrapped the thigh bones in folds of fat and put raw meat on top. These pieces the priest burned on wooden spits and poured libations of red wine over them. The men gathered around him holding 5-pronged forks. Once Apollo's portion had been burned, they ate the offal and carved the rest of the meat into small pieces. They pierced the meat with skewers and roasted it. When the meal was prepared, they feasted and all were fed to their satisfaction. Their hunger satisfied, the young men filled to the brim with wine the mixing bowls and went around the whole company, pouring some wine into each cup in honor of Apollo. For the rest of the day the young warriors sang and danced, celebrating Apollo with a beautiful hymn. Apollo listened to them sing with pleasure until twilight came. When darkness fell, the men laid down to sleep beside their ship. When rosy-fingered dawn appeared, the men set sail for the Greek camp. Apollo sent them a favourable breeze. The wind filled their sail and the dark sea roared against their keel as the ship sped home. Back at the camp, they dragged the ship onto the beach and made it upright with props. Then they went back to their own ships and huts. Achilles was sitting by his ship, his wrath burning. He had not fought beside the Greeks, nor attended their assemblies, where men win honour. He stayed where he was, longing for the din of the battlefield. 11 days passed since Achilles had told his mother Thetis of his troubles. On the 12th day, the immortal gods returned to Olympus, led by Zeus, who sends the storm clouds. Thetis, remembering her promise, at the first light of morning rose up from the depths of the sea and flew through the sky to Olympus. She saw Zeus sitting alone on the highest peak of the mountain. Thetis sat down in front of Zeus, took his chin in her right hand, put her left arm around his knees, and spoke in supplication to the greatest of the gods. Father Zeus, if I have ever served you well by word or deed, grant me this wish. Give honour to my son Achilles. Already his destiny is an early death, and now Agamemnon, king of men, has dishonoured him. Agamemnon took away Achilles' girl, a prize Achilles won with his sword, and now she belongs to Agamemnon. This is an insolent disgrace. I implore you to let the Trojans have the upper hand in battle until the Greeks right the wrong that has been done to Achilles, and give him the honour he is rightfully due. Zeus, most wise and most strong, gave no answer, but sat in silence for a long time with Thetis clinging to him in supplication. At length Zeus spoke. This is going to cause a lot of trouble, for you are urging works of death. My wife Hera will heap abuse on me when she hears about this. Things are bad enough as it is, as she tells the other gods that I am helping the Trojans in this war. You had better leave before Hera sees us. But first, I bow my head in agreement, a sure guarantee that the thing will be done. There will be no going back, no deception. Zeus bowed his head, and great Olympus shook as his divine locks rolled forward. Thetis plunged back into the depths of the sea, and Zeus left for his palace. All the gods rose to their feet when Zeus approached. Such was their respect for the greatest of the gods. Hera had seen Zeus talking to Thetis and knew they had been hatching a plot. She spoke harshly to Zeus. So who have you been hatching a plot with now, you arch-deceiver? It is just typical of you to wait until my back is turned to cook up some scheme, but without telling me. You have always kept your secrets from me. Zeus replied, Hera, don't expect you know everything I decide. Even though you are my wife, you would find that knowledge hard to bear. No god or man will hear before you what it is fitting for you to know. But don't question me about decisions I make without the other gods. Hera replied, What are you saying? You can't say I was ever one to pester you with questions. You are free to make any decisions you want. However, I fear that silver-footed Thetis has persuaded you to do something. She sat with you this morning and held you by the knees. I am supposing you have decided to help Achilles and let the Greeks be slaughtered beside their ships. Zeus, who sends the thunderbolts, replied, You never stop supposing. I can't keep any secrets from you. But there is nothing you can do about it, and you can only make things worse for yourself. If you are right, you can take it that my will be done. Be silent and obey, or all the gods will be no help in stopping me putting hands on you. Hera was afraid and sat down in silence. The gods were all filled with consternation, till the great craftsman, the lame god Hephaestus, son of Zeus and Hera, spoke to his parents. This looks like trouble, and we can't put up with it, with you two falling out over the fate of mere mortals. How can we enjoy a banquet when there was such a bad atmosphere? Hera, advise you to make peace with my father Zeus before things get out of hand. That will ruin our banquet. If he wanted to, Zeus could blast us all from our seats. Mother, please end your quarrel with your husband. Hephaestus hurried forward with a two-handled cup and put it in his mother's hands. He said, Mother, be patient and swallow your resentment, or I might see you thrashed right here. That would be difficult to watch, and I wouldn't be able to watch. Once, when I was trying to help you? Zeus seized me by the foot and hurled me away from Olympus. I flew through the air and ended up on Lemnos as the sun set." White-armed Hera smiled and took the cup from her son. Then Hephaestus served everyone in turn, beginning at the left. He served sweet nectar from the mixing bowl, and all the gods laughed as he hobbled up and down. And so the banquet went on all day until the sun set. No one went short of food or music. For Apollo played his lyre and the muses sang, each voice beautiful and glorious. When the banquet ended, each god retired to the house that the god Hephaestus had built for them with supreme skill. Olympian Zeus, lord of the lightning, retired to his bed where he slept with Hera of the golden throne beside him.